You got the clap. What are you looking for over here?
You remember this as seen on TV thing, the clap?
The clap, yeah, the clapper.
You clap and the lights go off or whatever, and now you just tell ABOT to do it for you.
ABOT. Mm-hmm.
That's how you get around actually getting her to activate and go, yes?
Right. NSA spy device, please play. Burn the Gates, Impedum Concilium. Playing, Burn the Gates, Impedum Concilium. Dun 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 dun. Because it starts with more. See, you get it because you listen to it, right? Burn the Gates. You've listened to it, have you? Good. Thank you. So today we've got something pretty cool planned.
Yeah.
And it's a side by side. It's both Buffalo Trace. One is the original. One is a store pick. Barrel strength.
Single barrel.
It's not barrel strength. It's single barrel. Yeah. I should have that written down here. I'll circle what I wrote. Sometimes I'm an idiot. Welcome to the Savor the Burn podcast. My name is Jonathan. Still, this is Mr. W2. How do you do today?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
I'm doing all right. I got a little headache. Uh-oh. I'm kidding. It's more of a neck ache through the arm. Waves of agony. But today we're not talking about that. We're talking about Buffalo Trace and
waves of caramel.
Waves of caramel. Yeah, I'm expecting waves of caramel. And some other things. We know the original Buffalo Trace. We've had Buffalo Trace on the show before.
We have,
but we have not had the.
We've both gone through several bottles.
Yes, we have. Yeah, this one's mine. I brought it from home. I actually have another bottle at home, just in case the mood struck. I want some Buffalo Trace. I'm gonna have.
You can't go wrong.
Yeah, it's really good. It's decent. When we rated this before, I gave it a 7 even. You gave it an 8 even.
Okay.
It's one of those where you ended up giving it a higher rating than I did. Like it happened not too long ago with the Traveler whiskey, actually right behind us. That happened.
That was really good.
There too.
I was pleasantly surprised.
Yes, I was surprised. I was happy with it. I was starting to get in my head about it because everybody had such a negative reaction to it, it seemed like. And when I tried it, it was night and day different from what I found and what other people told me. But I don't think we're going to have a night and day difference between Buffalo Trace and Buffalo Trace single barrel store pick. So what can you tell me about the single barrel store pick?
Well,
where did it come from?
Yeah, we're looking at the same bottles here, right?
Yeah.
They both clock in at 90 proof.
Mm-hmm.
They both are alleged to be roughly 8 years.
8 years is a great year.
Yeah. The difference is the regular Buffalo Trace, it's blend. It's definitely not a small batch because Buffalo Trace produces a lot of bourbon. And so, but it is whatever their batch size is, they blend all that together, they proof it down to what it needs to be, and it goes in the bottle.
Yep.
When you get a store pick, the store gets to go in and taste and sample a few barrels, and then they go, yep, I want that barrel right there. And then they bottle up just from that one barrel to make this, proof it down in the process. So they're both 90 proof, but this is 100% from the same barrel.
Mm-hmm.
So because of that, I'm expecting some differences.
Yeah.
But because of how controlled Buffalo is with their product and how good they are with their product, I'm expecting a lot of carryover and a lot of overlap between the two.
I'm expecting stronger.
I'm expecting the flavors to be a lot more amplified.
Amplified, there you go.
In this one. One of the things that we just pointed out before we got started on here that I thought was very, very interesting is even though these are the exact same bottles, The store pick single barrel has a actual real cork stopper,
Whereas the original just has a
Just
regular
composite.
composite.
which I mean we've said it before. Composite's not bad.
Nothing wrong with it.
Nope.
In fact, it's actually better than a
Yeah.
as far as for the longevity of storage of your spirit. Composite is a better choice than natural cork.
Yeah. So I apologize. I don't remember the name of the store, but my sister picked this one up from me, for me, from a store that they frequent when they go and visit Tim's sister and her husband down in Georgia.
Georgia, okay.
Yeah. So that particular store always has Eagle Rare readily available for I think she said $40 a bottle.
Oh wow, okay.
Which is not much over MSRP.
Yeah,
And then
I'll have to bring some cash. You can hand it over to her next time
well,
you see her.
yep, I'll be seeing her in June.
Eagle Rare's not a bad bottle.
But so she bought this for me before the holidays, and she actually has the same bottle, and so she's very excited and anxious to see what we think about it and what our comparison
Well, hopefully we
comes
don't
out
disappoint.
because she has the exact same bottle. So what we have here is exactly what she's going to taste because they're both came from the same barrel.
Much like my bottle of Blanton's and my son's bottle of Blanton's.
Yeah,
What a wild coincidence
Yeah.
that turned out to be. So this is the original. It's everything you remember it being. There's caramel, there's oak.
Vanilla,
Yeah, vanilla. There's something else sweet in there.
maybe a little custard. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a very creamy
Yeah.
vanilla.
Creamy is the right word to use for it.
Oak forward.
Yeah. Oh. Sweet. The proof, the oak, the honey on the back end. That's everything we love about Buffalo Trace.
Yeah.
Just the original.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, it's only 90 proof, but it's got a little bit of a peppery bite to it. So I think that's got to be a little bit of the rye. That's
Yeah,
in
they
the
must
mash.
have had a little bit of rye there in the. Just let it roll down the arm and into the pot still. Into the mash.
Right.
The mash barrel, whatever.
You know, and as a reminder, you know, some info that I pulled on this. This flagship bourbon has history in every sip. There has been whiskey made on the site of Buffalo Trace Distillery in Frankfort, Kentucky for more than 200 years. Hey, we learned that about the Traveler.
Yep.
Repeat. The first distillery operation that can be continuously traced to Buffalo Trace was started in 1812 by Harrison Blanton. Yes, that Blanton.
That Blanton.
What other Blantons is there going to be? I mean, seriously.
Yeah. They're all
sold-
a part of it.
He sold the operation in 1870, and it was renamed the Old Fire Copper OFC Distillery. It has been bought and sold many times over the intervening decades, but Sazerac has owned the property since 1992. They produce a wide range of bourbons and spirits, including their signature bourbon. Not only is the Buffalo Trace signature bourbon beloved by its fans, it's also really good and not overly priced. In fact, it has become the flagship of the Sazerac bourbon lineup. They keep the mash bill tight, corn, rye, and malted barley with no wheat filler. It is also aged at least 8 years and served up at 45% ABV. All that means rich, classic bourbon flavors in every sip. For many bourbon fans, Buffalo Trace is their go-to daily drinker, and we think it would be hard to make a better choice. I have to agree with that. I mean,
Yes, daily drinker hits the nail on the head.
it's a great daily drinker. The tasting notes say medium amber, which, yep, it is. Caramel, plenty of butter, warm mixed nuts,
Buttery.
pumpkin spice.
I
don't know if
still
I-
not picking up on the and I'm a slut for pumpkin spice, dude. Like, and I'm not picking up on the pumpkin spice.
Yeah, I ain't either. On the palate, butter, toffee, mint, fruitcake. I can see the fruitcake. There's a fruitiness to it that, yeah, I can see that being fruitcake.
I've only seen fruitcake. I've never never actually eaten fruitcake.
And then the finish, medium length with lingering sweet and spice. Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's got all of the above.
Before I get too much farther down into it,
Yeah, you're gonna.
let's
Yeah. So what do we got here
start
on the
talking
nose?
about the nose. The nose to me is not much difference. I mean, it's
Somehow the original is a little sharper
yeah,
for me,
yeah.
and it almost smells like, by comparison, there's mint.
Okay, I can see the mint. I was gonna say that it's a little bit more rounded off on the nose.
It's like a deeper caramel. Mm-hmm. But yeah, still very similar. Yeah, let's try it.
The palate's different.
Way different.
Yeah.
This drink's like a rich bourbon. This is way different. I mean, the flavors are not only deeper, and both of them being at 90 proof, somehow this is way smoother. Like there's no burn.
Yeah, there's no burn at all.
Unless I'm missing it, unless the other whiskeys we've had tonight have burned my palate, and I've lost that sensation. But
the single barrel tasting notes I found here mention mint, vanilla, mint,
single?
and molasses.
yeah,
On the
Vanilla,
palate, it says
molasses.
brown sugar, toffee, anise, and dark fruit.
Huh.
I'm not familiar enough with anise, so I'm not sure. Maybe that is one of the different things that
It's
I'm
one of those
picking
things
up
in
on.
like your Christmas spice mix.
Complete side note, I ran across a cocktail the other day that had a star anise that you torch
Yeah.
and then set it on top of your large square cube.
All right.
And that
It
way,
looks cool.
That way it's smoking while it's sitting in the ice.
All right. All right.
So, stay tuned, dear listener. This is good.
This is good. This is
And it's, yeah.
I want to say surprisingly good because the original was already really good. This is way better. And that's nothing against the original Buffalo Trace. So I guess those Georgia boys in that store, they picked the right
Pick
barrel.
a good barrel, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm sure we've talked about it before. Single barrels can be hit or miss. You've got a lot of people that bag on Blanton's because it's so hard to find. It's usually overpriced. Blah blah.
And every bottle tastes different.
And every bottle tastes different. Well, Blanton's is the original single barrel, and so that's kind of part of its identity. Is every barrel is just slightly different. And I saw one podcast that was talking about the hype of Blanton's, and it started off very negative against Blanton's, going on and on about it's overpriced, it's overhyped, it's nowhere near the quality of what you're gonna find it for. But then about halfway through there, it started talking about the single barrel, and no two are the same kind of a thing.
Very unique experience.
But by time he finished with it, he turned it into maybe the hunt is not to find a bottle. The hunt is to find
the barrel.
The barrel.
Yeah.
The right, perfect. Because that's part of the whole aging process. Is where is it in the rick house?
In the rick house. Where was
what
it located?
floor is it on? What is it close by a window? Is it on
Yeah.
the inside? Is it on the outside? Is it? What did the weather do that year?
Right,
What were the highs? What
Some
were the
years
lows?
are hotter and drier than others.
Yeah. So all those things play into the tasting profile of it. And so when you have a product that is nothing but single barrels, everyone's going to be different, and everyone's going to have its own unique characteristics to it, and so by the time I got to, I started off going, I'm going to turn this off. I disagree with
If
this
he's
guy.
just gonna motherfuck Blanton's all
Right.
day.
It's like, no, I love my blends.
Yeah.
But by the time he got to the end of it, when he turned it into a maybe it's about the hunt for the right barrel, I was just like, he's on to something.
That's a good point,
That's exactly what blends is. You've got a very sought after, hard to find bottle. It's not readily available. It's usually overpriced, and so be a little bit discerning and wait till you can find someone that is selling
talked about their MSRP being like what, 65,
60. Yeah,
but then you get secondary market, it's like either 100 or it's 200 or 200 plus.
Yep. Yeah, there's a market right kind of in between there. I feel that is bumping a little bit, and by a little bit I mean, you know, $70, $80, $100. But then you have your blatant second market
price gougers.
that is 150 to 240.
Yeah, like that.
And that's not the gold or the,
it's not the
Japanese.
It's just the base.
Just the regular original single barrel.
Yeah, and I've only seen it for 200 and above. You've seen it for 100 and below several places.
Yeah.
And bought it at that. And Bruzel, one of the guys that we watch quite a bit, go check out Bruzel on YouTube and probably Instagram, BREWZLE. But and his hunts, he'll see the original Blantons at, if it's $100 or lower, he'll usually buy. No, wait, that's
that's
if it's $100 or less.
Yep.
He'll go ahead and buy it because
he's giving them away.
He gives them away
to clients and friends.
A lot more often than he actually drinks it. But
maybe someday.
This is so good. Someday what?
Maybe someday
he'll give us a bottle.
No, maybe someday we're giving Blantons away.
Oh, that'd be awesome. I would love to. Well,
for now though.
Yeah.
My Blantons.
Right. Mine. Yeah, I've given a bottle away before I had a bottle. But I didn't find it in the wild. You did.
But come over and enjoy it with me.
Absolutely. Yeah, if I'm having a get together, which we don't have company, but if I had a get together and somebody said, "Oh, I've never had Blantons," well, today's your day.
Usually when I go over to someone's house and I bring the 12-pack mixer of beer or whatever, usually you leave it. Whatever's left over, you leave it, courtesy kind of a thing. If I bring over my bottle of Blantons,
I'm leaving with it.
It's getting tucked under the arm, and we're rugbying it to the car.
Rugbying it to the tuck right in there. Rugby it to the car. That's pretty funny. So I was a little surprised on the nose.
Yeah, I need to get into my ratings. Some of the write-up that I found on this, I'm going to skip this first paragraph. Limited to just 192 bottles. That would be a barrel. Buffalo Trace Single Barrel Select Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey is far from ordinary. It's like the James Bond of bourbons. Smooth, sophisticated, and with a flavor more intricate than the tricky question you flubbed at last night's trivia.
Do you ever do trivia?
I haven't done trivia in a long time.
I've never done it.
Before Henry came along, we did trivia every week. We used to go to Johnny's Tavern when we lived in Prairie Village. Had Geeks Who Drink trivia. Okay. And then they stopped doing it, so we moved to Bergen Barrel for a while. And then we were doing it somewhere else. I'm blanking on. We down the street, Transport Brewing Company. They used to do Geeks Who Drink. And so right up until Henry was born, we were down there every Wednesday for trivia. And we used to love doing trivia. And we were never very good at it, but we won. I think at least one time, maybe twice. Got a handful of prizes from Geeks Who Drink, but yeah,
that's cool. Prizes are cool.
Yeah. So where was I? Trivia. Okay, so the write-up here says age for a minimum of 7 years, but before it said age for a minimum of 8 years. So, if you look on the bottle does not have an age statement on there. Mm-hmm. So it's just kind of what, I don't know if that's what people, experts assume or what the folks at Buffalo Trace have stated, but they do not print a age statement on their bottle. There's no age statement to be found. But so this says a minimum of 7 years. Before I said a minimum of 8 years. Mm-hmm. In American oak barrels, the special barrel pick boasts bold notes of vanilla, mint, and molasses that will tango with your taste buds. And just when you think you've tasted it all, it twists.
Yeah.
You'll start to notice the subtle hints of brown sugar and spice, giving way to toffee, dark fruit, and a slight taste of anise that lingers on your palate. Imagine the first sip.
Yeah.
Well, we don't have to imagine because we've got it right here.
Yeah, we don't have to imagine it. You're right. And brown sugar's closer to the mark than what I was saying. I was saying honey of some kind, but yeah, definitely brown sugar.
I think molasses is pretty close to that,
molasses is really close to the mark, too.
Yeah.
So it's somewhere in between those two, even though I don't think they're related at all.
This is really good. Mm-hmm. Now I'm really kind of curious because, like I said, my sister is very anxious to hear what we think about this.
I'm anxious to hear what she had to say about her.
And in that, she has not told me or disclosed their thoughts on their same store pick of this. Mm-hmm. But I do know that I think they've picked more than one bottle of this.
Okay.
So.
Of that barrel?
Of this barrels, yes.
Okay.
So I think.
Yeah.
I think to me that says.
What does it go for?
I think it's pretty close to MSRP. I think it's this says I pulled 35 on there versus 25 to 30.
25 to 30. Okay.
That's kind of what I pulled as the MSRP around here is. Mm-hmm. When I visited the distillery, if I remember correctly, I think it was like 23.
Okay.
Is what I paid for it actually at the distillery.
The original?
Yeah, the original. Okay. This is going to be a little bit more than this. I think she paid 30 to 35 for this.
Well, if they can get another bottle of that barrel, I would love a bottle.
It's good.
I'll
192 bottles per barrel. That's not a lot of bottles. If you think about a store,
yeah,
even if it's a small liquor store,
I would guess they would get all of those bottles.
They do, yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, you go into a distillery, you pick your barrel, they bottle it up for you, and then you get delivered, packaged in the cases, ready to go. Mm-hmm. You get your 192 bottles. I think that would be a lot of fun. Yeah. What does our select barrel select sticker say?
That just popped off on my thumb. Yeah. It says single barrel. Get it over here in the light. Hand selected for M&M Liquors.
Okay.
So that's the name of the store.
So that may be the name of the store. There you
barreled go. Barreled on, what does it say here? 3/24/2015. Holy smokes, they've had this a while.
Yeah. Yeah, they have. Wow.
Damn. Like 8 or 9 years.
Okay.
Depending on when this podcast airs. So yeah, so that's pretty cool.
All right. Well,
Yeah, so if they've got another bottle of that, I might have to, hopefully you and Tim don't mind if I slide in your sister's DMs and be like, hey girl, let me get a bottle. Hey girl, let me get a bottle of that. Hey, let me get a bottle of that single barrel from the M&M liquor.
and an Eagle Rare if you got it.
Yeah, so you've been to Tennessee before. So in the Pigeon Forge, Gatlinburg area, it seems like they don't say liquor, they say liquor. Liquor. Good times. Well, I posted on the Book of Faces.
Buy me some time. I got to do my numbers.
on Facebook. I posted in the Kansas City Whiskey Guild that we are trying a side-by-side here, the original Buffalo Trace and a store pick, single barrel. And so I was looking forward to it. Anybody, done this before, thoughts. And Andrew says, I've had quite a few Buffalo Trace single barrel picks. They are usually pretty good.
All right.
Michael says, Buffalo Trace picks are hit and miss, just many single barrels. And Paul says love both of them.
I can't argue that though. I mean,
Yeah.
That's the nature of single barrel, right?
Yeah.
You're gonna have some. I don't know.
I mean, so they can be hit or miss, but
Well,
they were tasted by the people at the store.
that's exactly what I was going
There
to
was
say.
a panel.
Yeah,
They said
so.
everybody agreed this is our barrel.
Yeah.
This is it.
So yeah, I do agree that single barrel can be hit or miss. However, like I just said with bubbles,
Yeah.
usually if you're a store and you go in to get your own store pick barrel, you're sampling at least a handful of different barrels, and you're picking which one is the best out of the two. Mm-hmm. The caveat to that is taste is at the discretion of the individual.
It most certainly is.
My rating on this is not going to be everyone else's.
Yeah. Yeah.
Probably most others, So everyone has their own taste. Everyone has their own opinions on what's good, what's bad. And so the hit or miss part of it is Joe, owner of X store,
Yeah.
is going to have a different palate than you do.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, is it going to be a good pick? I have to think, yes, it is going to be a good pick. It may not line up exactly with your particular palate.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to be a good pick because they have done their homework and they have done their compare.
They've done this before.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. And if it's anything like what we were told at Bubbles, there's going to be multiple people.
Yeah.
There's got to be multiple people involved with this, and so that's multiple pallets. Everybody thinking about it.
Get your empty glass. That nose. That molasses is all over that.
Yeah, oak and molasses.
Yep. With just a little bit of a mint kind of lingering in there.
Mint. All right. So ever since drinking that one, this one on the finish, mint. All day, mint on the finish, not on the palate, not on the nose. It's just every time I get more of my tiny sip of what's left. Notice the pinky's up. It's so good.
That's really good.
If you have a problem with Buffalo Trace, we're probably not going to be friends. Yeah, it's I have no complaints.
No.
I ain't mad at it at all. Especially not that one. I keep looking at it like it's like the girlfriend's hot friend. Like I shouldn't be looking at it, but I can't stop. The color's similar, but
the colors are very similar. It may be marginally darker. Mm-hmm. It's hard to tell when you've got one bottle that's down to the last third,
right,
and then this bottle's still 80%.
There's so much volume in there. Yeah. What did you give it on the nose?
I gave it 4 1/4.
Jesus fuck! Here we go again, dude. I don't know what the hell's going on here. But we had this problem last episode with that traveler back there. You gave it 4 1/4. This one I gave it 3 1/2.
Okay. What'd you give your traveler?
3 3/4.
And you gave
3 3/4 on the nose.
Oh, so you gave this a little bit lower nose. Okay.
Yeah, a little bit lower nose.
Okay.
That's
okay. Completely different.
Probably
bourbon,
it's
whiskey.
Totally different. Yeah, could probably.
Listener, traveler is a whiskey.
It's a whiskey, not a bourbon.
This is a bourbon.
And no matter what anybody says, when it comes to trying these, anything that we've done here on this podcast, whether it be audio only or the full video experience, no matter what, try these things for yourself. Yeah. I mean, like you've already said this 4 or 5 times now. It depends on your palate alone, what it is that you're gonna like. So I like the Breckenridge PX cask a lot, and I've given a bottle of it away to my son. He fucking loves it. It was a gamble. I didn't know if he was going to like it. I just know that I love it. I'm going to send it to him and see what he thinks. And he loves it. Thank fuck. And so, I've also turned him on to other things, like the Jim Beam Black. I got to bring up Jim Beam. Jim Beam. Don't get mad.
One more time.
Jim Beam Black. Jim Beam. Jim Beam, Jim Beam, Jim Beam. So, on top of that, I've given him points and hints on other things that he could buy. The Angel's Envy Rye. He's hooked on the Angel's Envy Rye. I've told him about the Russell's Reserve 10-year. And a couple other things, I don't know. And he's like, man, you've given me so much stuff to look up, look for when I'm in there. I'm like, establish your relations. The whiskey business is a relationship
Yes,
business.
sir.
Thank you, Bruzel, for that insight.
Yep.
And it's absolutely true.
Thank you, Ryman's.
Ryman's, yeah. Ryman's has been a part of the Savor the Burn podcast more than they know.
So completely side note.
Yeah.
Don't want to derail, but
Too late.
you mentioned Breckenridge PX.
Yeah.
So that made things click in my head. I was in our local liquor store, Justin's. That's not too far away. They had on the shelf the Redbreast.
I knew you were going to say
PX.
Redbreast PX. So we saw that when we were up in Weston at the Snug. What was it at the Snug?
I think the Snug was maybe 150.
Wow, really?
About 135 for the Redbreast PX. It may be worth it at some point, but
it's for the podcast.
It's gonna be good.
It's for the pack. Sorry, Jennifer. Sorry, Miss Katie.
Anyway.
It's for the podcast.
Let's reel it back in.
It's for the. We're gonna end up with it. So stay tuned. We're gonna end up with this.
We love our Irish.
I don't
whiskey.
care if it's 135 or 150. If it's PX cask, I forgot the name. Pedro Ximenez. Something.
like that.
It starts with an X, so I think it's a S sound. I'm not 100% sure.
Send us your hate messages.
Yeah, send us your hate mail at
comment on the video.
W2 at savortheburn.com. If you love what we're talking about, hit me up, Jonathan at savortheburn.com, or just send it direct to the Pirate Podcast in general.
Or
info.
Jim Beam at info at savortheburn.com.
I facepalmed. Maybe we'll talk about it later, but Jim Beam's in a little bit of hot water with the 50 Cent crowd. You know, the rapper?
Yeah?
Yeah, we'll talk about that later. Good times. If you don't...
Sounds like a good episode.
Yeah, good times. So, maybe we'll crack open a bottle of Jim Beam if you have any. He doesn't. So...
Not true.
you got the barrel strength. Yeah, the double.
I've got the double. I don't know if I've got the double oak, but I do have the devil's cut right there.
I'm looking for a plastic cap. I'm not seeing it.
Right there.
Okay,
devil's cut.
There it is. Maybe we'll crack this some bitch
Yeah, I do have Jim Beam in the house.
Right.
It's a small bottle.
It's all right.
It's still Jim Beam.
It's like what my girlfriend says, size doesn't really matter. Anyway, where were we? Palate. What did you give it on the palate,
I
Mr.
don't
W2?
know. I gave it a 4 1/4.
Again, 4 1/4. You and I met eye to eye right there.
Excellent.
On palate.
That palate
It was spot on. It didn't have everything that the nose had on the as far as the different things on the tasting, right? The variety of things. But much like the Traveler, it's unfair to compare. But we're doing that definitely today.
Okay. So while you brought that up, actually, I was thinking about this earlier. We've mentioned it before, and we try hard not to compare because it's not fair to compare this product with that product. The one time we have compared, and we do compare on here, when we have something from the same distillery.
Yeah.
In this case, it's the same bourbon. One is just their standard blend. The other one is a single barrel.
Yep.
So we're comparing them to see, what benefits are we, if any, are we getting from the single barrel?
Any.
Keywords. Yeah. You may not. Some people may go, give me the regular, and that's okay.
It is okay. I can't imagine why they would though.
Yeah.
But
anyway,
whatever. I mean,
so anyway, go on.
I'm in it. Like, as much as I love like local business, local bands, even local government. We don't talk about government here. Anything past local, not a fan. So when it comes to government, but this here, single barrel. It came from one barrel. You're getting.
They've proofed it down. It came out of the barrel a little hotter.
Yeah, it's not barrel strength. Barrel strength would be cream of the crop. Yeah.
I
Imagine everything that this has to offer is just not watered
I
down.
don't think Buffalo Trace has ever put out a barrel strength version of this, but can you imagine?
We need to get a
This
job
has been.
at Buffalo Trace.
This would be
smuggle a barrel out.
amazing
Yeah.
barrel strength.
As it is right now, it's
good. It's
very
90
good.
proof, so
It's very good.
It's not a chump.
yeah. I would think like this is good. That's very good.
Yeah.
Great is my thought. It's got to be great as far as barrel strength.
I'm just thinking about, again, not to get off subject, but think about the flight we did of Elijah Craig. We started with the Elijah Craig standard offering, which was 94 proof.
Yeah.
And then we went to the toasted barrel, still 94 proof.
Yeah.
But it was toasted. It was finished in a toasted barrel.
and a totally different experience.
And then we did their barrel proof offering, and that shit was off. That was awesome. That was
off the hook.
That was,
Yeah.
and I think that was like 122 or 23 proof. I don't remember.
Something. Yeah. And when it came to those, because we were comparing, first pick for me would be toasted. Second would be barrel strength. And third would be just the original Elijah Craig. And all three of them were fantastic.
Yeah.
As is. If you haven't tried Elijah Craig, do it. What are you waiting for?
Yeah.
Do the original and see what you think.
Yeah, that is a great offering from Heaven Hill.
Heaven Hill.
Yeah.
Heaven Hill Distilleries. Yeah.
Yeah, great offering from them, and that was a great flight to do. I was really surprised. I had been sitting on the toasted barrel offering for quite a while.
Yeah.
And I hadn't paid attention. And
Because it was for the podcast. You were waiting.
Right. And I hadn't really looked closely at the label. I was surprised to learn that it was the same 94 proof as their standard offering.
Yeah.
But it drank so much differently than the standard one. I mean, it clearly was a lot more premium. But then when we bumped up to the barrel strength, I mean,
You liked the barrel strength.
Those
I think,
flavors,
more than I did.
those flavors just opened wide. Yeah. The floodgates were open.
Blossomed.
Yeah, it was fantastic. But that's not what we're having today. We're talking about.
No, we've already talked. We've talked ad nauseum about Elijah Craig, and we love Elijah Craig.
Yeah,
we love Elijah Craig as much as I love Jim Beam. Tonight, again, we're talking about Buffalo Trace. What getting back to the rating.
Oh yeah, the rating.
The rating. What did you give it on the finish?
4.5.
4.5. I gave it a 4.5.
Well,
yeah. How do you like that? On the finish, what I liked about it is it was long and sweet, and it didn't have the mintiness that that I think the online tasting notes said it would have, but it showed me that I had been missing the minty notes on the original. So maybe if there is a barrel strength, I'll notice it on the single barrel.
Okay.
We'll have to get a hold of the folks at Buffalo Trace and see if they can get us a single barrel tasting. If only just like the little Flavier size bottles of barrel strength, anything from Buffalo Trace. Buffalo Trace. We want to try it. But until that happens, which I'm sure it will, because we're kind of a big deal. We'll just work with what we got. So on the bottle presentation.
Yeah. I did not look up to see what I gave my bottle presentation on that. But today, I felt like I gave the Traveler earlier a 3.75. I gave this one a 4.
You gave it a 4?
And I don't remember what I gave it before, but this is definitely... Everything is the same. It's the exact same packaging, but I was pleasantly surprised and I was just surprised that this has the natural cork stopper, whereas the regular one is composite.
So are you a fan of natural cork versus composite? And if so, if not, why?
At the end of the day, I honestly could care less.
Okay.
As long as my whiskey is preserved and safe.
Yeah.
In there, I'm good with. all my bottles, I store them upright. So,
Right.
and
Well,
when
that's because it's whiskey. It's not wine.
Right.
Wine, it should be.
I take
stored
it
on
off the shelf,
side.
I usually do one of these just to wet the underneath side there. So when I
Yeah.
pop it off, it doesn't break off if it's a natural cork, which I've had a couple of those do.
Yeah.
You go to twist it and
And that happens.
but to me, the natural cork is a little bit more premium. I think technically the composite cork is a better seal, but
Yeah.
just from that premium level, I feel like the natural cork has a little bit
Natural
more of a
cork for me
premium.
almost says limited edition. It's like,
Sure.
drink it, share it, be a part of this experience. Don't
But-
put it on the shelf and display it.
But I was surprised that the
Drink
single barrel had with everything else being the same,
Yeah.
it has a different stopper. It's the same green top to it,
Yep.
but the actual stopper inside is natural cork versus the composite.
Yep.
So.
And then in addition, there's a label over there on the side that tells you what store it came from. That one, it's single barrel select, and 2, what store it came from, which really isn't that big of a deal, but in some ways it kind of is. Yeah, because I mean, you know where that barrel came from, and where it went, and hopefully there's some left. And your dear sister, sweet Faith, sweet Mr. Strong Tim, please give me a bottle of this.
Timothy.
Pretty please, with sugar and honey on top. Anyway, so that was bottle presentation. What did you give? Wait, no, you haven't told me what bottle presentation was. What did you give it?
I did tell you I gave it a 4.
He gave it a 4.0. I didn't tell you what I gave it. I gave it a 3.25.
Okay.
Only because I bumped it up from my original score because it's got the added label over there and it's got natural cork.
All right.
So what did that bring your final score?
That brought my final score to 8.5.
8.5? Very cool. Mine went to 7 3/4.
All right.
So
Not that far off.
So jumping back to a previous episode where we reviewed the original Buffalo Trace, I'll give you W2's numbers first. W2 on nose on the original, you gave it a 4. On the single barrel, you gave it a 4 1/4.
Okay.
On the palate, you gave it a 4 1/4. On the original, you gave it 3 3/4.
Okay.
So definitely an improvement there by a full half point. On the finish, on the original, you gave it 4 1/4. On the single barrel, you gave it a 4 1/2. On bottle presentation, you gave it on the single barrel, you gave it a 4, but on the original, you gave it a 4 1/4.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah. So you've seen so many more bottles now over the course of a year.
Yeah, my presentations, I'm a little bit more discerning, I guess.
Over the course of a year, we have seen a lot more bottles.
We've seen some good presentations.
We've seen some great presentations. So, when we see a 5, we know we've seen a 5 until we see another 5, and then the next 5 is like, holy fuck! How did we give that last one a 5?
That last 5 just became a 4.
Yeah, it just came like a 4.75. So what the hell? So it's these ratings.
It's an evolving rating.
It really is. It's these ratings going back. If you go back in time, go through savortheburn.com/liquor cabinet, and if you just pick the bourbons, like see all when it comes to the bourbons, and you'll see the full list, and click on any of them. Unfortunately and fortunately, it's an evolving list. Those ratings are going to stay the same because that was our first impression, our initial thoughts.
Yep.
But when we look back on those ratings, we're going to think, what was I thinking? And just with bottle presentation alone, I thought that would be fun to bring up. So on your final score, you gave it a 8.5, and on the original, you gave it an 8 even.
Okay.
So I think
we came up.
Yeah, absolutely. Overall, it came up.
Single barrel all day long.
Single barrel. And with me, nose on original was 3. Nose on barrel pick was, or single barrel pick, whatever, was 3.5. Original on palate was 4. Barrel pick was 4.25. I almost said 4.25 just because that's what I have written down. Finish on barrel pick was 4.5. Finish on original was 4. And bottle presentation on original was 3. Bottle presentation on single barrel single barrel was 3.25. 3.25.
All right.
Just because I dig natural cork more than I dig composite. It's just personal preference. And I like the fact that it had the extra little thing on the side that said what store it came from, and the fact that it was single barrel. So that brought my final score on the single barrel to 4.75. But in the Wayback Machine, it was just it was a 7 even on the original.
Okay. You know, I think I remember when we did our first review of the original, I think part of my presentation score played into the fact that I had just visited the distillery. I had seen the Buffalo Trace brand propagated across everything there, down to the playground. They had a playground out there.
Did it say Buffalo Trace on the playground?
The playground was green and beige.
Okay.
In color. So I mean, it was the colors.
Yeah, you sent me pictures of that.
Yeah, and they had, you know, this little line drawing of the buffalo in between the buffalo and the trace.
Okay.
That was everywhere, including the playground equipment. It was cool.
Go to our Twitter.
It was super cool.
Go to our Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. Scroll down, and you will see a picture of it. Because tonight, possibly tonight, maybe tomorrow, I'll post a picture, the one that he sent me, of the playground, and you'll see it. You'll see what we're talking about.
Good stuff.
Do you have any final thoughts on this one?
I like it.
He likes it. I like it too. So,
Thank you, Faith.
Yes, thank you, Faith. Thank you, Tim. Thank you for being good family members and going to visit Timothy's sister, in Georgia to pick up a bottle of this store pick from M&M Liquors. It's kind of a hard to read.
Yeah.
Logo there. Bring it over here in the light. Yeah, M&M Liquors. Thank you, Faith and Tim, for giving us. Did they give us a bottle, or did you?
No,
she give them some money. Thank you, Faith and Tim, for giving us a bottle of this to review.
We share bottles back and forth.
I got you.
So
okay, yeah.
They got Ben Holiday. I got Buffalo Trace.
Yeah, because your family actually loves each other. My family, it's like.
Oh, and I also got them the Boulevard.
It can be a nightmare.
6 glass.
The 6
glass whiskey, distilled by the Foundry.
The Foundry. What else do they have?
They distill.
I'm putting you on the spot.
They distill a lot of stuff.
Okay.
But that's the distillery that did the Midnight Ritual for Boulevard.
Boulevard, yeah.
And then they also did a 6 glass, which is a triple
beer. The 6 glass beer, which is they say that by the time you get to the 6th glass of beer out of this bottle, you're a total asshole, I guess is what. But I don't.
Or you're under the table.
Yeah, I don't need that to be an asshole. It's in my DNA. It's a whole thing. Ask Jennifer. She doesn't have a savortheburn.com email. But if you want me to forward her an email asking about how much of an asshole I really am, go ahead and send me the email, Jonathan@savortheburn.com.
And then copy me. Because why not?
because W2 at SavorTheBird.com definitely wants to know. He wants to be in it because he's he's a fiend, I guess, for all this stuff. So yeah. So if you're looking for a step above the original Buffalo Trace bourbon, definitely try to find yourself a store that has their own store pick.
Store picks are where it's at.
Yeah, it's going to be single barrel.
Really is.
And hopefully the people that work at the store.
Am I keeping you up?
Wow. What? Now, where was I? I don't even remember where I was. Sometimes a good yawn will hit the reset button on my brain.
If you can find a store pick.
Yeah, if you can find a store pick, definitely check it out. That's if you're a fan of the original Buffalo Trace.
If you're a fan of something else and you see it as a store pick, don't sleep on it.
Right,
grab it.
If it's Ben Holiday, if it's Angel's Envy, if it's Jim Beam, definitely give it a shot. See how it compares to the original.
Yeah.
Because tonight we found out some things that it's very different. There's a lot of similarities.
Yep.
But it's not night and day difference, but it's still different enough to say very different.
Yep.
And W2 likes it.
I like it.
I like it. And I would highly suggest finding yourself a single barrel version of anything that you like, whether it be Buffalo Trace, anything else. I wonder if we would ever find a single barrel from Von Payne. That'd
be awesome.
Hit us up.
That'd be awesome. Von Payne.
Yes.
We know you're watching.
Yep. Yeah. With as much as they comment on our stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
We appreciate it.
So I guess with all that to say, thank you for watching this episode of the Savor the Bird podcast. We had a hell of a time trying this Buffalo Trace original versus single barrel. It wasn't a versus. It wasn't.
Yeah.
It was just a side by
side
kind of thing. For all info on all whiskeys, bourbons, scotches, even one, maybe two tequilas by the time you see this that we have reviewed, check out SavorTheBurn.com/liquor cabinet, and or just go to SavorTheBurn.com and click on the drop down menu, and you'll see liquor cabinet in there and check it out. If you like what we're doing, please hit subscribe, hit that little bell notification, and you'll be updated and notified anytime that we drop new material, which is once or twice a week now, sometimes 3 times a week. And if you want to support us, check out our Patreon. That's also on SavorTheBurn.com. Just hit that drop-down menu. You'll see Patreon. If you want to check out these Glencairns, SavorTheBurn.com. Once again,
or the Savor the Burn t-shirts.
Yeah. As of right now, it's a pre-order. By the time you see this, it might be live.
Full production.
Full production. Check out the t-shirts we have available. I'm pretty fucking stoked about those t-shirts. We got 4 different colors. It's the same design, front and back, and it's not like the stupid little left chest thing.
No, it's full.
Like I'm gonna go play golf somewhere. No, it's full front, full back. So definitely hit the pre-order and or order as far as the t-shirts go, and send us a selfie. We want to see it. But until then, thank you for watching and listening. If you're listening to the audio only on Spotify or Audible or anywhere else that your audio only podcast can be found, we are there. Definitely hit follow and like and leave us a comment anywhere and everywhere, because we watch that stuff diligently, and we always love your feedback. And no matter what you're drinking, who you're drinking it with, never forget, dear listener, keep on
burning.